Welcome back. President Trump arriving in Saudi Arabia this morning for the first foreign trip of his second term. The president was met by Prince Mohammed bin Salman this morning and will speak at the U.S.-Saudi Investment Forum later today. It's all ahead of his visit to Qatar and the United Arab Emirates this week, and the president was greeted with an almost royal welcome. Joining me now is Fox News senior strategic analyst and chairman for the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, it's great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, great to see you, Maria. Thank you.
Especially since you and I were together in Riyadh back in 2017 when we met with MBS. I interviewed the Crown Prince on stage in Riyadh at that time, and there was lots of optimism about what Saudi Arabia was doing. Brett showed us a little of it last night on Special Report and how they've really changed things and in fact, modernized a bit. What do you think is possible now that President Trump has chosen Saudi Arabia for his first foreign trip? What is possible between the U.S. and the Saudis?
Yeah, well, it's pretty significant. I mean, his first foreign trip in the first administration in the summer of 2017, as you mentioned, was Saudi Arabia. And that surprised a lot of people. And here we are in the second administration, and it's Saudi Arabia again. I think what's really happening here is it's something of a reaction to the Biden administration, because when Biden came in, he immediately appeased Iran, cut back on the Trump sanctions, went into negotiations over the nuclear deal once again, and stiffed the Arabs. There were foreign military sales that were supposed to go to UAE and Saudi Arabia, and he held them up. And the Arabs said, what is going on here? We have a major change in policy from the Trump administration and moved closer to them and helped to normalize relationships with Israel, to the Biden administration that would stiffen them. And as a result of that, they have options. And one of those options was China, to bring China closer economically and also geopolitically, because they are very concerned about their own security dealing with Iran and their own economic viability. So Trump is back on the scene again, and his first visit is in Saudi Arabia. Primarily, this visit is about strengthening the economic relationship, and obviously comes with that will be the geopolitical relationship will be strengthened as well. And he brought with him, as you know, Maria, a contingent of American CEOs to meet the Crown Prince. And what he is seeking is major investment by Saudi Arabia, by the UAE, the next country, and Qatar in the United States. Half the capital of the world, as we know, is already invested in the United States, and President Trump wants more of it. And he thinks our technology, our innovation, our ability to execute much better than any other country in the world by far, to include China, they are no match to what we can deliver here. And he wants to make that point to these major investors, these three countries that have obviously significant amount of sovereign wealth. And the mission here is to invest in American enterprises. Secondly, certainly they're going to discuss Iran. Certainly they're going to discuss the war in Israel. But the major effort is that.
Yeah, and you're right. You make such a great point, General, because we saw on the ground Alex Karp, the head of Palantir. We saw Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman from OpenAI. All the tech leaders are there. Elon Musk, obviously, is there. Not to mention your usual suspects like Larry Fink at BlackRock and a couple of others. But one of the most pivotal foreign policy achievements of President Trump's first term, of course, were the Abraham Accords, the peace agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. The president said he was this close to getting Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords. Do you think that can be achieved in this term?
Yes, I think it's absolutely possible. It's certainly how the war ends in Gaza is really an issue here. The Saudis were very close to it, and it was a primary reason for, not the primary reason, but it was one of the reasons that Hamas attacked, because they saw normalization on the horizon taking place. And that was the reality of it. And that's why Iran so strongly supported what Hamas was doing and actually expected Hezbollah to get involved in it. And they were very frustrated that Hezbollah didn't get involved to the same degree that Hamas did. So that was really one of the major reasons for that attack. I think President Trump, by getting peace in the Middle East is the objective here, working with Prime Minister Netanyahu, And I think the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia certainly recognizes that normalization is a game changer for the Arab countries in the Middle East and a game changer for his country as well.
Yeah.
To have that shared technological innovation with Israel primarily, but also what is in the back of their mind is security, Maria. By having a coalition of Arab countries united with Israel and the United States, that is a steadfast coalition and a major obstacle to Iran's aggressiveness and malign behavior in the Middle East. And that is the other reason for normalization and why it's so important.
Yeah, and we know that that is another thing that Iran is seething over. You know, Iran is in a weakened spot right now, and everything you just said is one of the reasons that you saw the Crown Prince go to the airport, greet President Trump on that purple carpet, purple indicating royalty. But I got to ask you about Gaza and Hamas and Iran. The last living American hostage in Gaza, Adan Alexander, released from Hamas captivity yesterday. These pictures are incredible, watching him reunite with his family in Israel yesterday. After being in captivity for nearly 600 days, trapped by Hamas, he's set to speak with President Trump later today. And the release is seen as a gesture to the president ahead of his Middle East trip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, relatively quiet following the release as the president takes on more of a direct role in Middle East negotiations, General. So how do you see that relationship, Netanyahu and Trump? And what is your reaction to this last living American hostage released?
Well, I know some Israelis are disappointed that the president didn't make a trip to Israel as part of his visit to the Middle East. After all, Israel is our primary ally in the Middle East. That's indisputable. But I think what's likely behind that is not stiffen Israel in any way whatsoever. Primary reason here, he wants to focus on these three Arab countries and get their investment support. It is the reason for the visit, and he didn't want to complicate it with it. But I know Israelis are frustrated by that. I think the release of Edan Alexander is goodwill gesture on the part of Hamas to the President of the United States. They know he has a heavy hand. There is no doubt that policy changed immediately when President Trump walked into the Oval Office when it came to Israel. We released all the restrictions on weapons to them. We stopped micromanaging their operations, and through their full support behind them, we engaged in negotiations to help the Israelis to get hostages out of Gaza, and that worked, at least on a temporary basis, for some of the hostages. There's no doubt that the support the Trump administration has given Israel is considerably stronger than what they experienced in the Biden administration.
Oh, yeah.
So some Israelis are making far too much of the visit not taking place there. And I think the operation that Prime Minister Netanyahu is conducting in Gaza is done with the support of the Trump administration to finally finish off Hamas.
Yeah.
And Netanyahu believes that the pressure of that operation, which will begin after President Trump's Middle East visit is over, will possibly bring out the rest of the hostages. That's what they're hoping for. And that has worked in the past. Pressure on Hamas, release hostages. More pressure on Hamas, release more hostages. And I'm talking about military pressure, not diplomatic pressure.
And the maximum pressure campaign on Iran, of course. General, it's great to see you as always. Thanks so much for your incredible insights.